there are a lot of people, and probably a growing amount of people, who believe that the event we've come to know as 9/11 or 9/11 was not what it was presented to be by the American media, but rather what it appeared quite blatantly to be to the rest of the world, and appeared quite blatantly to be to many aware, awake, conscious, and observant people in America itself. People who noticed strange things. I mean, the whole thing was strange to begin with, but all the strange inconsistencies. And on top of that, to look at the way in which it was used, the reaction to the destruction of the World Trade Centers by the Bush government, of which George W. Bush is a figurehead. He certainly is not the sole architect of everything that has been done by his administration. He is the figurehead. How much of its designs he actually came up with as an original thing, I don't know. But he certainly likes playing the lead character in that charade. And how George W. Bush reacted and responded to the destruction of the World Trade Centers was the first major tip-off to most Americans who were not just sheep, that there's something very strange, something very peculiar and suspicious going on here. There's much physical evidence of those people who have the scientific know-how to understand and analyze physical things, such as the way that a very tall skyscraper that was built to be sturdy, built to stand the test of time, that not just one but two of them hit by a single airplane could manage to completely fall straight down. Straight down. They didn't topple. Neither one. Not just one, but two. If one had gone straight down and the other had sort of done what would naturally happen, you might think, well, that was a bit fluky, but two buildings both hit one time, both completely demolished. That was the first thing that makes you think, whoa, this is eerie. But then you look at Bush's reaction and how swift his reaction was to point a finger and say, we know who did this. We know. We're going to get them. Wanted, dead or alive. We're going to get them. We know who it is. This is good. This is good versus evil. Now that is Jingoism. Jingoism is simplistic phrases used by militaristic people like Bush or Hitler or Stalin or whoever to whip up their nations to support their war plans. Usually pre-existing war plans, and they use these simplistic flag-waving patriotic things to get the whole nation behind them, or to get the majority of the nation behind them, and nobody's allowed to question. Nobody's allowed to have dissent. War, good versus evil. There's too much physical evidence, and there's plenty of videos, if you care to actually look into it, on YouTube, explaining and showing, demonstrating, showing even that some of the footage of the airplanes, going, hitting the buildings was actually computer images. That the airplanes went right through the buildings like ghosts, rather than smashing up as an airplane would do if it actually hit an actual physical object. It would smash into the object it hit, and when a moving force hits a stationary object, there's a collision. And there's no collision in these videos. There's just a ghost plane just flying through and coming out the other side, or an explosion coming up. So Bush's and then there was Bush's reaction on that very day, which you can also see the footage on YouTube. Him being filmed in Florida. Guess what? Florida, where his brother was governor, where the sneaky, suspicious things in the election of 2000 took place, Florida, where Bush's brother was governor. Where did Bush happen to be on the morning at the moment when the planes hit? Florida. What was he doing? Reading a book to a classroom of school children. Oh, how innocent and cute can you be? And how suspiciously contrived does it seem? And his reaction, being told, you can see the footage on YouTube. Here he is. Here is his aide come and whispers in his ear. He sits there quietly, rolls his eyes, and continues reading for another 10 minutes or so out of a children's book. No, I think the whole thing, and I thought, for that very day, I thought the whole thing smelled suspicious. I think they planned it very well that he would be sitting there while this attack took place, looking as innocent as could be, so he could turn around and say, well, this is good versus evil. War on terror. It's all jingoism. It's all doublespeak. It's like Ronald Reagan, the guy that Bush tries to sound like. Honestly, he sounds like he's trying to imitate Ronald Reagan when he talks. Ronald Reagan with his MX missile, the MX missile that people were trying to oppose and saying it was a huge weapon of mass destruction, is what the MX missile was, a weapon of immense mass destruction. And anytime anybody tried to speak against it, Reagan would come out and say it's a peacemaker. It's not a weapon of mass destruction, it's a peacemaker. Euphemism, doublespeak, jingoism. Nope, there are too many of us who believe that the whole war and the whole event that was designed to prevent any kind of dissent. Because even if you say, well, we don't believe that we should have a war, what do? They come out with support our troops. Where whether or not you think that there's any justification for the war, you have to support the troops. You have to support the troops. If you can't criticize the troops, if you criticize the war, you're criticizing the troops. Well, the troops are the tools. The troops are the pawns of this fascist government that are being sent out. The troops are essentially no different from bullets, no different from hand grenades. And to say you have to support the troops, you can't criticize the troops, and you can't criticize where they're being sent or what they're doing when they get there. It's like saying, well, somebody throws a hand grenade, but you can't criticize the hand grenade. Support the hand grenade. Even if you're against the actual where it's being tossed, you have to support the hand grenade. Well, the troops are just the dupes of this fascist government. Oh, and while we're at it, let's take a look at the other things that have been going on. Aside from the actual war itself, the torture. There was Guantanamo, there was Abu Ghraib or whatever, wherever they were torturing, and probably still are torturing, so-called alleged suspects. There were photographs of Lindy, England, and there were a couple dozen of the people died. Torture was routine there. And who was doing this? Troops. Our troops that we have to support. Support our troops, because you have to support our troops, because that's patriotic. Well, what were we supporting when we were supporting our troops? We were supporting these torturing bastards. These people who went and they raped and tortured. They hung people up by their thumbs. They did the waterboarding, which is a drowning torture. You shove the person under the water until they're almost going to drown. You pull them out, and then you keep doing it. Support our troops. That's what you're supporting, my friends. War on terror, it's just jingoism. It was from the very beginning. And the whole rapid response of, we know it's Bin Laden. We have to get him dead or alive. That was all part of the whole concocted plan. That's why his response was so swift, because it was all planned in advance.